The untouchable True School Sports Empire proudly presents something the boxing games are missing. Hey, what's going on? It's your boy BT, and I came here to talk some boxing with the thousands of True School Sports subscribers. Now, this is, in fact, the aftermath of Naoya Inoue versus Stephen Fulton. You guys know this was a fight that we covered way before it was even signed, like going all the way back to last summer. Went to Japan to try to go to the fight. Inoue pulled out, couldn't go. It is what it is. But it's happened. Inoue has shown his greatness and displayed his greatness to not just the hardcore boxing fans, but really more so to a whole new audience, because you got to remember, with Fulton being an American fighter, I think this is the first time Naoya Inoue really had the undivided attention of the American fight fan. And he delivered. He delivered in a major way. So I have a lot to discuss. I have a lot that I want to get to. But I put this little tribute for Naoya Inoue together. So I'm gonna play it right quick, and then after I play it, we'll acknowledge some of the fine folks in here. Make sure you smash that like button. It's your boy, it's True School Sports. Good to be here. It's 9:09 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on a very dreary and rainy day here in South Florida. So yeah, here's my Inoue tribute that I put together for you guys. What is it right here? So there you have it. Naoya Monster Inoue. Just wanted to put a little video together for you guys, but there's so much to dissect. I mean, I've been following Naoya Inoue for almost 10 years. Like, it's been a long time. I've been following Naoya Inoue. I've been making videos about him consistently here on YouTube for like, I think seven plus years now, since like 2016. So, I've always thought that Naoya Inoue could go far in boxing, but it's gotten to the point now where I can truthfully say I don't know what his ceiling is in boxing anymore. I used to always think it would be maybe featherweight, maybe even 122, but I'm starting to think he could go even higher. So he's truly a special fighter, and that much proven yesterday. But anyway, enough rambling on. Let's take some time to acknowledge the fine folks already in here. Make sure you smash that like button. We got Presidential Luke in the building. Shout out to him, a longtime viewer. Got another longtime viewer, my main man James Valdez just came in to smash that like button. Hopefully people follow your example. Shout out to James. We got 10 man in the building. He said, let's go, man. I just got back home from the boxing gym. I didn't go to the boxing gym, but I just got back from the gym. I was at LA Fitness swimming, trying to get this endurance up. So, I feel you. My man Hakai says present. Good to see you, champ. Lil Bernie says, I'm confused with people wanting Inoue versus Tank next, and they're justifying it by saying Tank beats everyone from 122 to 130. Can we let him beat those guys and stamp his name in history before Tank? I've seen a lot of us talk about Inoue and Tank. I'm gonna get to that in this live, but all the people that are mentioning, like I would say, like 95% of the people that mention Tank versus Inoue don't even like Inoue, and they're just trying to find someone to beat him so they can say, hey, haha, Inoue sucks. He's not that good. He's overrated. So there's that. But yeah, obviously there's still some good fights for Inoue at 122 and 126 before that even becomes a possibility. You got the Marlon Tapales fight, which will probably happen later this year. You also got, you look at featherweight, you got all the champions. You got Lee Wood, you got Robeisy Ramirez, you got Bernardo Lopez. You got even Otabek Komatov, who I like a lot as the mandatory, who might be a champion by the time Inoue gets there. So, yeah, man, let him do his thing. Shout out to my guy Jonathan. He says Tribalists asking Inoue to fight Tank now. They hate it when a non-African American fighter shines. Hey, that's their cross to bear. It's not mine. Hakai wants to know, hi BT, can you please give your insight about Inoue strategies that he mentioned before the match and the actual game plan that he implemented on the night? He did say he's going to do something different, and he did. He definitely did. I'm gonna come back to that comment, but he did show some different things in the fight. A lot of goalposts moving today. Yeah, man. Yeah, man. It's quite sad. It's quite sad what's going on today. People. One thing we've learned about a lot of people, especially here on YouTube, is we got some miserable ass people that make YouTube videos. That's for damn sure. Hand History Vault says Inoue shouldn't go past 126 in his opinion. Okay, fair enough. Ido Perez, good to see you. Jairo Galva, he says if this was America, the fight would have been different. We know who said that. I'm not gonna say his name here because we're not gonna try to give him clout, but we know who said that, and that guy is very foolish. Now, let me just say this. I'm going to go back to Hakai's comment. So, Hakai, bear with me. But before I get back to Hakai's comment about Naoya Inoue strategies, and we break that down, and we talk about what could be next for Inoue, what's next for Fulton, let me just say this, and consider these my opening statements about what covering this fight meant to me, because this fight, covering it and talking about it for longer than probably anybody on YouTube on a consistent basis, let me just let me take this time to thank all the, obviously all the American subscribers, but also all the Japanese subscribers and viewers who have made Inoue Fulton such a special thing. Shout out to all the people that sent me packages from Japan, and shout out to everybody I met in Japan. I've had a lot of great experience covering boxing, but I would definitely say Inoue and Fulton was one of the best experiences of my life. Even the live, even yesterday, the live was fun. The live was special. You guys made it very special for me. A lot of people told me that I made Inoue Fulton more special for them. So the feeling is definitely mutual. And there's that. There's all that. There's that. There's a lot more that I want to say in regards to that, but I just want to let everybody know that's here, that's watching the playback, and that in any way contributed to me going to Japan, helped me out while I was in Japan. I can't even begin to verbalize properly what all this means to me, because Inoue Fulton on this channel in particular took on a life of its own. So yeah, just a great experience. But getting back to my guy Hakai's comments, because I think he had a great comment. He says he wants to know about Inoue strategies that he mentioned before the fight and the actual game plan that he implemented in the fight. He said that he was going to do something different, and he did, and he absolutely 1000% did. Hakai. First and foremost, Naoya Inoue, I think he was a lot more patient than we're used to seeing. Normally, against a guy like Fulton, I feel like he would have been on the front foot more, but you saw him be a lot more patient so far as the way he set up that straight right hand, because that straight right hand that dropped Fulton, that led to that devastating left hook that put him out eventually, that was all 8 rounds of setups. If you go back and you watch rounds 1 through 7, I thought Inoue did such a great job of jabbing to the stomach. He was constantly jabbing to the stomach. And then every now and then he would mix in a nice little up jab. An up jab, for those of you who don't know, an up jab is simply, rather than a straight jab, it's just, an up jab. Fulton's a bigger fighter. Fulton's a taller fighter. So normally when you're the shorter fighter and you're trying to close range and you're trying to outbox the taller fighter, the up jab is a key punch for you to use, right? So, yeah, I thought that was great. And I just think the consistent jab to the body and the speed, that with the speed of Inoue, I think his focus on not so much boxing, or not so much slugging, not so much being explosive, but more so boxing, that was the difference in the fight. And it even, believe it or not, like even with this choice of gloves, I think as crazy as it sounds, even with Inoue's choice of gloves, you could kind of get an idea of what he was going to do, because in the last fight with Donaire in the rematch, he wore Clayton Reyes gloves. Clayton Reyes gloves are Mexican gloves. They're horsehair gloves. They're generally known for allowing fighters to punch harder because it fits tighter around the hand. But in this fight, he wore winning gloves, which are Japanese gloves. They're very popular gloves that many fighters use for sparring. They have extra padding. And I think he wanted that extra padding on his hand, number one, to protect his hands, but also because he probably anticipated that the fight was going to go some rounds, that Fulton was going to test him, and that he was going to be throwing probably a consistent variety of jabs. And he did. And I just thought it was beautiful how Inoue was consistently working behind that jab. I would say in this fight, he's always had a great jab. Don't get it twisted. Like Inoue has never lacked a world-class jab. That's why I kind of laughed at Fulton when Fulton in the build-up to the fight said, all Naoya Inoue had was power, and if you take that away from him, what else would he have? And I thought it was a pretty big miscalculation on his part, because he's always had a world-class jab, and he showed it in this fight more than all the fights. And what was so surprising to me was how quickly he figured out Stephen Fulton. Because what was it? I believe it was the second round where Naoya Inoue started taunting him and saying, "Yeah, hit me right here on the chin," if you guys remember. And I don't think he taunted him just to taunt him. I think he taunted him because he felt comfortable. He felt like he got his range down. He had gotten the timing down. He had pretty much figured him out. And because of the fact that he had a guy like Fulton who was a bigger fighter than him, a guy that was younger, a guy that was a versatile fighter in his own right, it allowed him to show different things. And you saw Inoue also, another thing he did, I thought the level changes. It was the jab to the stomach, and it was the level changes. Inoue wasn't as straight up and down. He wasn't as straight up and down. He's not a straight up and down fighter, but I think in this fight he showed a bit more slickness. He showed a bit more dexterity. He showed a bit more flexibility, because Fulton would jab him, and Inoue would just make that little level change. He'd make that little level change and make him just fall short. Fulton would throw the straight right hand, a punch that's normally pretty damn good for Stephen Fulton. It's a pretty damn accurate punch for Stephen Fulton. Naoya Inoue just, level change. So it was the level changes, meaning, dropping where the angle of his head was. And then it was that consistent jab to the body, which over the course of 7 rounds lowered the eyes of Stephen Fulton and set that big right hand up top. And I would say that was what was different in the fight for me. So that's my assessment. Let me see who else we got here. Shout out to everyone here. We got my main man, Sebastian, the technician Santana, one of South Florida's very own. Shout out to you. Hope all is well. Hope training's going well. He says Inoue is the best lower weight fighter. I mean, at the moment, he definitely is. I think you might, from your statement, Sebastian, you might need to just drop the lower weight. He's just the best fighter, point blank, period. The perfect blend. He is boxing's perfect blend of speed, power, and defense. Every style they put in front of him, tall, rangy guys, swarmers, pressure fighters, slick fighters, back foot fighters, counter punchers. Every style they've had and they put in front of him, he's figured it out like that. It hasn't been hard for him. I think in Naoya Inoue's career to date, he's boxed 146 rounds. As crazy as it is to say, out of all those 146 rounds, you can maybe count on one, possibly two hands at the most. Maybe out of 146 rounds in the professional ranks of boxing, maybe Naoya Inoue has lost 6 rounds out of 25 fights in 146 rounds. He doesn't just win; he wins in decisive fashion. He wins by dominating, and that's what you look for. A lot of people are questioning why we're talking about him so highly. It's because he dominates like very few. The only fighter dominating like him in boxing is like a Terrence Crawford and maybe like an Artur Beterbiev. Everyone else, you know, they're great as well, but like they're not quite dominating at that level, you know, just being honest. And maybe like a Bivol as well. Let me see. My man Lee Chang. We got Lee Chang in the building. Bro, true school. Anything differently after the fight from Inoue? Bro, anything you think differently? Yes, the only thing that I really feel differently about Naoya Inoue is that I legitimately feel like he has everything it takes to be a 6th division champion. Meaning that I think that Naoya Inoue could win a world title at 130. I legitimately think Naoya Inoue could go, because I think he's gonna win a world title at featherweight. I think, you know, he will, you know, he'll beat Marlon Tapales. He'll go undisputed later this year. If he takes care of business and does that, then I would anticipate his first title fight at featherweight is going to be against probably Robeisy Ramirez, because Robeisy Ramirez is a top-ranked fighter. He was on the undercard of Inoue. He picked up a good win against the former Olympian. And I think he'll beat Robeisy as well. Robeisy is a good fighter. Robeisy does a lot of things good. He's a southpaw. He can box his ass off. He's really adapted his style to the pros. But Robeisy Ramirez, I think his stamina is going to let him down in that fight greatly against a guy like Inoue. I just think conditioning will be the difference in that fight. And I think Inoue will wear him down and probably get him out of there somewhere around the same time he did Fulton. But I really do think it's crazy to say, but I think Inoue is more than good enough to touch a world title at 130. And that's something that I didn't think before this fight, truth be told. We got my man Self Productions in the building. Good to see you, champ. Hope all is well. Acid Break says, I feel like the late great Edwin Valero's imprint was left when he was at Tekken and fought in Japan, because Inoue definitely picked up on the style but refined it and made it his own. Yeah, he took a lot of what they teach at, you know, I'm wearing the shirt right now. I'm wearing the shirt that I got at his gym, the Ohashi boxing gym. So I'll never forget when I went to Japan. I saw all I didn't get a chance to interview Inoue, as many of you guys know. Hopefully, God willing, one day that happens. You know, I forgave him. You know, I forgave that bad attitude I had in that video. You know, I got over it that night, and you know, Inoue's all right with me. But what was I gonna say? Like, I remember watching those little kids train, the little kids at the Ohashi boxing gym, the 10-year-olds, little 12-year-olds. I sat there and I watched them for like an hour and a half, 2 hours, and these kids, they all boxed like little Naoya Inoue's. They all had big calves for their age, and their punches were like super straight. So when you measure Edwin Valero, yes, he took the fat off the punches, the looping punches that Edwin Valero used to have, and he added a lot more straight punches to that style, and made it his own. I would definitely agree with your assessment. Let me see who else we got here. We got my man Rangu. He says, BT, my Japanese brother watched Inoue's post-fight interviews. Inoue told reporters that he actually didn't sleep that day due to the anticipation. Well, then he's just like the rest of us. I think a lot of people were like that. A lot of boxing fans were like that, especially here in America where the time zone was kind of crazy. He looked nervous. I remember when he walked out, when they had the close up on his face, he looked extremely nervous. But being nervous isn't a bad thing. I always tell people that, like, when it comes to boxing, being nervous isn't a bad thing. Customato said it best. He said that every fighter gets nervous. The hero and the coward both feel the same thing. It's just about how they use those nerves for themselves in the rings. And Inoue, we saw what he did with his nerves. So yeah, there's that. There's a lot of salt out there. They won't give Inoue credit, just like they didn't get Pacquiao credit. If Pacquiao was American, they would have said he's the GOAT. Yeah, I mean, look, a lot of people are gonna for many people out there, there's nothing that Inoue can do to change their minds. Some people are just set in their ways, and that's just how it's gonna be. But for the real boxing fans, I think we should just all take time to really enjoy what's going on. You got a guy who I think, is going to have to move up pretty damn high in weight to really have a challenge, because anybody who's around his size, he's going to be faster than them more than likely. He's going to punch harder than them. So someone bigger than him, who with a lot of amateur experience, who can also punch hard, I feel like that's the kind of profile that whoever is going to beat him, if he ever loses, is going to have. It's going to be someone that's like 3 or 4 inches taller than him, someone that's had like 100 or 200 amateur fights with a lot of amateur experience, someone who's, at a good age. And it's going to be someone between 126 and 130. I think we can all agree that Inoue is going to beat Tapales. So who at 126 has the best shot at beating him in your opinion? And you know what? That's the perfect segue into what I wanted to talk about, because I wanted to discuss 3 fights for Inoue at featherweight, because it's no disrespect to Marlon Tapales. I wish Marlon Tapales like all the best, because Marlon Tapales is an amazing fighter, 2-division champion. He's definitely earned his shot. And, obviously he's got to believe in himself. Otherwise, none of us will. But getting to 126, because this is the world title picture at 126. You got Ray Vargas, who is the WBC champion. You got Lee Wood, who's the WBA champion at the moment. You got Venado Lopez, who's the IBF champion at the moment. And you got Robeisy Ramirez, who just picked up a win against the Japanese guy, Shimizu, the Olympian, the 37-year-old, the southpaw, who got his ass whooped. So those are the champions right now. Those are the guys Inoue is going to have to go through if he wants to become undisputed at featherweight, right? Now, we'll start with Robeisy Ramirez. I just mentioned him. That's probably the most likely fight that's going to happen. I don't think Robeisy has the conditioning to beat Inoue. I think he can have success in the early rounds. I think he could outbox him. I think the quickness and the volume punching of him could maybe give Inoue some fits early on. But conditioning-wise, I don't see it. And the thing is, too, like, he fought that Shimizu, the 37-year-old, and he was beating he was hitting him with everything. And it took him a while for those punches to really have an effect on him. And I just think his power, along with his conditioning, is just not going to be quite up to par with Inoue. Like, Robeisy Ramirez is a damn good fighter. Against anybody else at 126, I give him a good chance. But I would say that fight's probably like a 75-25 fight. And that's no disrespect to Robeisy Ramirez. Venado Lopez, he's the IBF champion. Venado is fighting Joet Gonzalez coming up soon. So, barring any sort of I think if Joet Gonzalez somehow upsets Venado Lopez, I think Top Rank will make that fight extremely quickly. Like, I actually think that fight would happen before Robeisy. So there's that. But as far as Venado is physically strong. He doesn't get tired. He's got a very unorthodox style. I think that would actually be one of the more interesting fights at featherweight because of the unorthodox style, because of his athleticism. Venado Lopez probably one of the only guys in the featherweight division that can match Naoya Inoue in the athleticism department. That's just the truth. So I think that'd be a good fight. When Pacquiao was dominating the lower weight classes, a Mexican and Eric Morales had to outbox him and kind of thwart the hype train. So maybe you never know. Maybe a Mexican like Venado might be the guy for the job. Now you got the WBA champion, Lee Wood. Good fighter. Lee Wood has definitely grown a lot over the last couple of years. He just came off a great win against Mauricio Lara to regain the titles in the rematch. But funny enough, Lee Wood and Inoue had history. Lee Wood was once Inoue's sparring partner. I believe Inoue said in an interview one time that Lee Wood was one of the strongest, physically strongest fighters he's ever been in the ring with, as far as a sparring partner or in a fight. So, Lee Wood is 34 now. He's been through some wars. I'm not so sure he'll be able to push Inoue back as much as he wants. But listen, Lee Wood has shown us that he can box, he can slug, but I just think he's on the wrong side of 30, and I think Inoue would get him out of there. Ray Vargas, tall, can box. He's the WBC champion. He can move a little bit, but he doesn't have the power to keep Inoue off him. So basically what I'm telling you guys is I would favor Inoue to beat all the champions at featherweight, like all of them, like Vargas, Wood, Venado, Robisi. I'm favoring Inoue by a minimum in all those fights of 60%. Like some of those fights I view as like 70-30. Some of those fights be 75-25, but he'd be a pretty sizable favorite, I think, in pretty much all those fights. Now, funny enough, the two guys that I think might actually be able to give Inoue his biggest test at featherweight, and I actually give you three guys. I'll give you three guys that could give Inoue some tests at featherweight. Don't have a title, all right? And I'll run you down the list, and I'll explain to you guys what each fighter does that I think would give Inoue a problem. So you guys see right here, and I'll highlight for you. The WBA mandatory is Otabek Komatov, the Uzbek fighter. Otabek is still relatively unknown to a lot of boxing fans, but if you really are following the sport, then you know who this is. This guy right here is a bad man, dangerous man. 11-0, 10 knockouts. He's currently the WBA mandatory. He's a southpaw. He's 5'7". Now, when I was describing earlier the kind of attributes I feel somebody would need to beat Naoya Inoue, he has a couple of them. For one, he's taller than Inoue. For two, he's got deep amateur background coming from the Uzbekistan amateur system. He punches hard with both hands, as you guys can see by his knockout record. He's got 10 knockouts in his 11 pro fights. He just knocked out 33-0 Thomas Patrick Ward from the UK, who was a good fighter. And he doesn't get tired. I think he has elite stamina. So I think, for me, out of everybody that's currently ranked and active in the division, I would say this is the guy I believe at featherweight could give Inoue his toughest fight. And I've already made a video about this. So you can go look it up. You can go on YouTube right now. You can type in Naoya Inoue and Otabek Komatov. And I've already made a video about that fight like a month or two ago. I made a video about that potential matchup because I think it'd be a good fight. I think he's got the kind of power that would actually have Inoue's respect. He has the kind of power that would actually maybe even bring out the boxing skills of Inoue even more than a guy like Stephen Fulton. So that fight would be really intriguing. Apart from him, you got right here in the WBC, you got Nick Ball. Now, Nick Ball, he's a British fighter from Liverpool. He's a guy that hold on, I put Nick got Nickelodeon. He's a British fighter from Liverpool. I joke around sometimes and call him the Scouse Javante Davis, but Nick Ball, extremely explosive fighter. He's 18-0 with 11 knockouts. Defensively, I don't know if he's going to be defensively sound enough to really give Inoue any sort of fits. But in terms of explosiveness, I feel like he's got some of the same attributes that a guy like Venado Lopez has. So I think that could be an interesting fight. And then the wild card and all this, and I'm gonna say this, and I know people aren't gonna like it, but I'm gonna say it like this. And it's gonna sound crazy because this guy didn't lose to Stephen Fulton, but my wild card on all this. You see him? You see him? All right. Now, Angelo Leo. Now, look, Angelo Leo. We ain't seen or heard from Angelo Leo since the Aaron Alameda fight in June of 2021. I'm close to Angelo, so I hear things. We'll see if he gets active by the end of the year. But if he does get active by the end of the year, I would like to see him in there with Inoue because I feel like he hasn't boxed to quite to his potential yet. He's been a world champion before, so he knows what it takes. He's got some interesting punches that I feel would be able to trouble Naoya Inoue. Like I think his overhand right is a very good punch that he has, and I think durability wise, if he's able to get Inoue to those middle and later rounds, he can make it a tough fight for him down the stretch. I think with him defensively, he just has to clean some things up and maybe trust his boxing skills a bit more, but. Those are the three guys. Those are my three. The three guys that I feel would potentially give Inoue somewhat of a tough fight, or the biggest challenges at featherweight are, in no particular order, Otabek Komatov, Venado Lopez, Nick Ball, and we'll throw in Angelo Leo as a wild card. So that's my opinion. But shout out to everyone here. It's your boy BT. This is, in fact, the aftermath of Naoya Inoue's 8th round destruction of Stephen Fulton. Let me see. Who else we got here? Yeah, he totally notified Stephen Fulton. Yes, sir. Eddie Morales says, Odebek, yo, Odebek be great. Man says, much love to True School. Much love to you, champ. Hope all is well. And ironically, the only one that TKO Marlon Tapales was a Japanese fighter. I'm not even sure who knocked him out. Who knocked him out? Inoue versus Wood, good fight. I think the fact that Lee Wood has history with him makes it kind of an interesting fight. And Inoue spoke very high. Like before Lee Wood even beat Zhu Can, I remember seeing an article on Ring Magazine about like Lee Wood being the strongest guy. Inoue said it. Inoue said Lee Wood is the strongest guy I've been in the ring with as far as sparring and whatnot. Do you think him boxing is trying to get ready for the higher weight classes? Yeah, because you know, if Naoya Inoue does what I think he's going to do, which is I think he's going to win a world title at featherweight. He'll be undisputed at 122 when he beats Tapales. He'll pick up a title. Maybe he'll go undisputed at 126. Maybe he won't. Depends on who he fights and who's the champions there. But I legitimately think he's going to get to 130 as a 5-division undefeated champion. And when that day comes, I mean, you look at 130. Let's go back to screen share. When you look at 130, right? 130 has some interesting players. Look at 130. If we could just look at imagine Inoue in these fights. Let's just dream for a little bit. Let's look into our crystal ball and get our Miss Cleo on. You know, could y'all imagine Naoya Inoue fighting the Welsh Wizard, Joe Cordina? He's currently the IBF champion. We know that he knocked out in devastating fashion. He already knocked out a Japanese fighter to win the world title when he fought Kenichi Ogawa. So we know that Cordina can punch. He's got speed. He's got power. He's a big 130-pounder. He was a solid. You got to remember Cordina too. Cordina turned pro at lightweight. I remember back when I made my prospect review video about Joe Cordina, like back in 2018, he was fighting at lightweight. So this guy is huge at 130. So you got him. You got the WBO champion, Vaquero Navarrete, Emmanuel Navarrete. He's kind of like Venado Lopez on steroids. You know, a guy that Mexican fighter, doesn't get tired. He will throw 1,000 punches if need be, has all kinds of crazy angles. He would have natural size on Inoue. Hell of a fight if we get to that point, you know. Then you got guys like Hector Luis Garcia and Oshaki Foster. So I'm really like, obviously the guys at 126 are gonna go. I'm sure they're gonna do their best to take the O of Inoue. But I really do think he's going to get to 130 and make some noise there. How about Inoue versus Oshaki Foster if you want a good fight? I think Oshaki Foster is probably going to suffer now. If they were to fight, I think he'd probably suffer in the same way Stephen Fulton did. He would have good speed. He would have some movement. But I just think his lack of and even probably more than Fulton, because Stephen Fulton is a more versatile offensive fighter than Oshaki Foster. If you guys remember, Oshaki Foster was beating Ray Vargas just with that jab, and it was a great jab in that fight. But I think to beat Inoue, you're gonna need more than a jab. That's just a stone cold truth. Let me see who else we got. Gary Russell Jr. I don't know, man. I don't want that one. I don't know where on God's green earth. Like, is Gary Russell Jr. is he even still fighting? Because he beat. I mean, I know he lost to Mock Style. I thought he beat Mock Style, but I'm saying he lost to Mock Style. And he's one kind of AWOL on us, so I don't know. What's good, Red? Good to see you, champ. Yes, sir. Good to see you. So yeah, those are the guys I would say. Odebek, Lee Wood, Venado Lopez, Obisi, Nick Ball, Angelo Leo, if he ever gets active again. I like those fights at 126 for him. Lil Bernie says, you and Boxing Gyms are the best boxing minds on YouTube in your opinion. Well, listen, anytime that you put me in the same sentence as Boxing Gyms, I know I'm doing something right. You know, make sure y'all go subscribe to Boxing Gyms. He's truthfully, you know, a boxing scholar. You know, I got a lot of respect for Boxing Gyms. He's a great boxing mind, and so I'm glad to be included in the same in good company. Let me see what else we got. Let me see. I wrote a bunch of notes down here. I wanted to also kind of touch on, because look, it takes two to tango, and I want to really camp out on this, right? Because a lot of people are throwing Stephen Fulton under the bus. Even like a lot of the racist channels like the LDBC and whatnot, even they're throwing him under the bus. And I'm not going to do that. You know, Stephen Fulton to me deserves a lot of credit because at the end of the day, it takes two to tango. And this fight wouldn't have happened if Naoya Inoue didn't have such a willing participant and a guy that was as brave of a champion and as credible of a fighter as Stephen Fulton. Now, Naoya Inoue made Stephen Fulton look like a nobody, a straight nobody. But anybody who's watched Stephen Fulton throughout the duration of his career and didn't just isn't some sort of Johnny come lately boxing fan, they know that Stephen Fulton was a legit champion who deserved to be in the ring with Naoya Inoue and deserved respect. Now, I kind of wanted to touch on his career and what's next for him, because before any of this Inoue stuff happened, he was targeting a move to the featherweight. They were talking about a Brandon Figueroa rematch. And I think the featherweight division is getting very, very interesting. So I'm gonna go back to screen share, right? Let's go back to screen share. Make sure you guys keep putting your comments in the chat because you know, I'm gonna get to you eventually. And make sure you smash that like button and all that great stuff and subscribe if you're new to this channel. You know, it's the Untouchable True School Sports Empire, the home of boxing. Programming reminder, just so you guys know, Saturday I will in fact be live for Terrence Crawford, Earl Spence. So make sure you guys join me for that. And then I might be live for Sinisa Estrada on Friday, but I'm not sure yet. I'm not entirely sure. I might go do something that night, but I'm not sure yet. That's 50-50, but I'm definitely going to be here live for Crawford and Spence on Saturday, so don't make any plans. But going back to the featherweight the featherweight division in regards to Stephen Coolboy Fulton. All right, so right now when you look at the featherweight division, I know they were discussing what's his name? Who are they discussing? They were discussing Brandon Figueroa. And Brandon Figueroa obviously is a dangerous fight for anybody. But you know, I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued to see what Stephen Fulton does, because this is a guy that if you were to classify Stephen Fulton's style, he can do a little bit of everything very good. He's not a big puncher, but he has pop to keep guys honest at 122. I'm not so sure what his pop's going to be like at 126, but if it's anything close to what it was at 122, then he should be okay. That should be enough to compete. But these guys at 126, these guys are hitting harder. These guys are going to present some interesting challenges for him. So the first question you got to ask when it comes to Stephen Fulton at featherweight is, which route will he go? All right. Now, Stephen Fulton held the WBC title at 122. And he held the WBO title at 122. Now, Robeisy Ramirez is the WBO champion at 126. He's a top-ranked fighter. You guys know how those politics works. You know, Al Heyman isn't going to let Stephen Fulton fight Robeisy Ramirez on top rank unless the money, you know, is good, right? And I personally don't think the money would be good enough for them to make a Stephen Fulton Robeisy Ramirez fight. So I think the route they're going to go is they're gonna go with Ray Vargas. I think that's the fight they're gonna target. Maybe they get a Brandon Figueroa rematch, but I think Ray Vargas, with him being champion at 126, that seems like an ideal fight. You know, Vargas is coming off of a loss to what's his name? Oh, Shockey Foster at 130, but his last fight at 26, he beat Mark Moxile, right? So that'd be a good fight. You know, I feel like that'd be a good style for Coolboy, because even though Vargas isn't a big puncher, he's just a long, tall, rangy boxer, and that would allow Stephen Fulton, I think, to be more of himself. You know, I think he'd have a speed advantage in that type of a fight, and even maybe a physical strength advantage. I think he'd be to push him back. So that to me looks like his most realistic path towards becoming a featherweight world champion, right? Apart from him, if you just look further down the list, other guys in the PBC stable that I see in the WBC rankings, you got Frenchie Fortunato, a Dominican fighter who's fought on Showbox a couple times. That right there would be a good fight for Stephen Fulton. Fortunato's a tall, rangy fighter as well, but he's not like a big puncher. Doesn't have a ton of stamina, but just, you know, he's solid. I think that'd be a good fight. So yeah, you know, I mean, now if we're not factoring in if we're not factoring in politics at all, if we're just looking at like, okay, what's the most interesting matchups? I would like to see Stephen Fulton fight Raymond Ford or Otabek Komotov. I think both those fights would really give us a nice barometer of just how good Stephen Fulton will be at featherweight. Because if we start with Otabek is a southpaw with punch power in both hands with stamina for days. If Stephen Fulton beats him, that's a great win at featherweight. I love that fight. Raymond Ford, he's from Camden, New Jersey, which isn't too far from Philadelphia, so I'm pretty sure he's probably got history with Stephen Fulton. So I'm not sure if they're going to fight, if they're going to be on that whole friendly tip, if that fight was ever a possibility. But Raymond Ford versus Stephen Fulton would be a good fight. So a lot of interesting fights there for Stephen Fulton. And I just think, like, we can't write him off. In a way, I'm kind of glad he got stopped in the 8th round, because if the fight would have continued, he would have got beat up even worse. And I think he would have taken real punishment. And you would have really had him in an uncomfortable position. So you would have really had him have some years taken off of his career. So even though he lost and, he dared to be great, as everybody says, I think he lost probably in the best fashion for the future of his career. That's what I will say about Stephen Fulton. So what fights do you guys want to see Stephen Fulton in? Because, I mean, 126 is a division that's really, really heating up. Also, I mentioned it on D-Style Boxing's channel last night, because I was on D-Style Boxing last night. Shout out to D-Style Boxing. Shout out to Calix Boxing and all the fine folks there. I could see Al Heyman, I could see PBC making the Raees Salim fight. Raees Salim and Stephen Fulton have a lot of history. Raees Salim, was calling him out for a long time. Stephen Fulton kind of big-timed him. They're both coming off of a loss. Raees Salim just lost to the Australian fighter Sam Goodman. Stephen Fulton just lost to Naoya Inoue. So it's a crossroads fight. If Raees Salim wants to move with the featherweight and challenge him, that'd be a hell of a fight. I would like that fight because, I know Coach Bobby, shout out to Coach Bobby McCrory, who's a loyal viewer of the channel. He's very confident that Fulton could beat or Raees Salim could beat Stephen Fulton. So you got that fight. And I wouldn't even rule out, look, if like I mentioned Angelo earlier for Inoue, shit. If Angelo could actually get active again, which is a big if, but if he can get active again, they had a fun fight the first time. Maybe they could do a rematch at 126. So there's endless amounts of possibilities for Stephen Fulton at featherweight, and I'm not gonna switch up on him. I still think he's an amazing fighter. I still think he's someone that's worth our time. He's worth our attention, and I think boxing fans should appreciate Stephen Fulton and continue to support him, because if he had an out, I know people are gonna say, well, he went to Japan for the money, which is true. He got paid a great amount of money, but at the same time, if he wanted to make an excuse, he could have said, like, oh, I can't make the weight. I already had this fight, Brandon Figueroa. Trust me, if he really didn't want to fight Inoue, if he really didn't believe in himself, he wouldn't have taken that fight. But he did, so he deserves at least that much respect from the general public. Who else we got? We got my main man, Hand History Vault. BT, what do you think about this version of Inoue versus the past 5 years of 135 powders? Who do you think he beats and who gives him trouble? It's kind of a hard question to ask because we haven't even seen Naoya Inoue compete at featherweight. So how on God's green earth, how could I project him being a lightweight when he hasn't even fought at featherweight? That's tough. Let me see. I think, I don't know, man. I don't know. It's hard to say. I think if they were the same size, I think stylistically, I think him and Devin would match up great. To be honest, I think him and if they were the same size, Devin and him would match up great because Inoue would be faster than Devin. Inoue, I think he has a good enough jab to do some damage. That would be the guy I feel like he'd have the best chance against. I'll tell you this too. You know what? If George Kambosos if George Kambosos Jr. is still competing in boxing and he's still somewhat of a decent name. If Naoya Inoue, wins a world title at 30, if he ever wants to experiment at 135, I would love to see Naoya Inoue versus George Kambosos Jr. What you guys think? Naoya Inoue versus Ferocious Kambosos. What do you think? Howard wants to know, can we talk about? No, we can't. Absolutely not. This is the aftermath of Inoue Fulton. Yo, that live when the Crawford and Spence fight. I don't know. Maybe tomorrow I'll go live about that fight. I'm not sure yet, but today ain't the day. Today ain't the day, champ. It's crazy that even a fighter that will watch other fighters fight can't really translate until exactly. You know, you can sit there and you can watch all the film you want. You could break things down. It could look one way outside the ring, but then you get in there and you find out it's something completely different. So it's no different than in a way with any of these guys at 26 or 30 or 35. So yeah, man. Thanks for the breakdown earlier, BT. If Fulton becomes champion at 126 and fights Inoue again, can he beat Inoue? Personally, I don't want to say he can't, but I would say it's highly unlikely. Stephen Fulton is a very good fighter. He's very good. He does a lot of things well. Like a lot of things well. Like he's got a really good jab. He has a world-class jab. He's got above average speed. He's got respectable pop. He has the willingness to get on the inside and has a good body attack, but he just doesn't do anything. I don't think he does anything great enough to impose himself on a fight. Naoya Inoue does a lot of things great. Like he does a lot of things great. It's not just power. It's not just the jab. It's not just the defense. It's everything he does well. As to where Stephen Fulton, I feel like he does a lot of things very good. And listen, to be a very good fighter in boxing is still an amazing accomplishment. Like a lot of guys do things very, very good. A lot of guys do things very good, but there's a fine line between very good and great. And I think we kind of saw it yesterday. Steve Fulton, very good fighter, fringe pound for pound guy, beating all these undefeated fighters. Showed you guys he can box and slug and do all kinds of different things in the boxing ring. But when he was in there with a guy who was like a damn near a 10 at everything. I don't want to say Inoue is a 10 at everything, but he's like a 9.5 at everything, a 9 or a 9.5 or 8.5 at everything. He's just probably one of the most elite, well-rounded fighters in boxing. I don't think he's got what it takes to beat him. Maybe he can make him more competitive because it'll be a bigger weight. Maybe the weight will help him, but I don't see a whole lot he could do. Just being honest. My man says you should collab with D-Style and Calix more often. Yeah, I want to just start collabing with people more in general. I just be in my own world sometimes, and I always have all this different types of content I want to produce. So it's like sometimes it's hard to find the time. But yeah, there's actually a lot of people in the YouTube boxing community that I've never collabed with before, or that I have collabed with before that I haven't done enough with. So those are definitely some good guys, and yeah, for sure. I'm late. When did this video start? 56 minutes ago. Fulton still has room to establish a great career, and I think he will. He just lost to a monster. Yeah, absolutely. You don't want to put. I think boxing fans need to be very careful when they go on social media. Content creators need to be very careful when they go on their channels. They better be very careful with how they talk about Stephen Fulton, because Stephen Fulton showed you guys he acted in a manner that people say they want their champions to act in. They say, "Oh, we want our champions to fight the best and take the risks," and he did that. And I've seen a lot of people throwing him under the bus. So if a lot of guys at 126 and 122 and 130, if you see fighters at the top level start ducking and dodging, it's because they're gonna see how you guys, the fans, the public, the content creators are talking about him. So please give Stephen Fulton his respect the same way the Japanese did yesterday. Respect to the Japanese fans who clapped Stephen Fulton and gave him a nice round of applause on the way out the arena. Who else we got? Do you think? Let me see. Who else we got? Fulton's a very good fighter. Fulton will beat a lot. Fulton will beat from 122 to 120. From 118 to 120-16, Fulton will beat 90% of the fighters. Like 90 to 95% of the fighters, he's beating them, and beating them pretty clearly. I appreciate that you try your best to be unbiased. It just leads to great content. Dang, I try to be, man. You know, it's difficult at times because I do like a lot of fighters. You know, I'm big fans of a lot of different types of fighters, but I try my best. I'll tell you guys this. You know, I want to say this because when you look at the guys that Inoue's fought in the past, like we look at Donaire, right? Because for years, and I'm very sure anybody here who's been a supporter in a way has tried to talk him up and tried to, you know, really drive that point home to people that Naoya Inoue is the truth. He is, you know, a top shelf creme de la creme, pound for pound fighter. Guys have had to hear over the years, oh, well, all he did was beat an old Donaire. Well, guess what? That loss for Donaire, it's aging like fine wine because Donaire broke Naoya Inoue's jaw in the first fight, or his orbital bone, or whatever it was. Took him 12 rounds, gave him, you know, in a fight of the year, gave him hell in that first fight. You know, Stephen Fulton, for as much as we talked him up, he didn't give Inoue the kind of resistance that an old Donaire did, right? So there's that. You know, look at Paul Butler, who basically was in survival mode from the first round. That loss, and it's funny saying this because a lot of times in this day and age with new boxing fans, a loss is such a bad thing in this post-Mayweather era. Like if you lose, you're trash. But like there are in the good old days when boys were boys and men were men, you know, there were such things as bad losses or good losses in context, right? Like for example, I'll give you my favorite example of what a good loss is. Evander Holyfield, he fought Riddick Bowe the first fight. He was a smaller guy who was the undisputed cruiserweight champion, won the world title as undisputed champion against Buster Douglas, right? Didn't get no credit because everybody said Buster Douglas was fat and not motivated. Defended it against a very tough, very, very tough game and very dangerous George Foreman in the first fight, beat him. But it wasn't until that first Riddick Bowe fight where, yes, he lost, but he showed so much durability and gumption and determination to try to win that even he actually got more respect in a loss than he did in any of his wins. So I feel like that's a great example of a good loss. And Donaire's first fight to Inoue is aging like fine wine, you know. So I'm glad that he's dominating in such a fashion to where people gotta look at Donaire now and say, look, that guy deserves all the credit in the world. BT, this version of Inoue versus Prime Linares. Again, Linares, great fighter in his prime, enjoyable fighter, you know, but let's just be real. Amir Khan, everyone talks about Amir Khan having the worst chin in boxing. I think Linares had a way worse chin than Amir Khan. Linares got stopped in like every weight class he was in. Linares got stopped by all kinds of different fighters. He got stopped by contenders. He got stopped by journeymen. He got stopped as a champion. He got stopped as a faded veteran. You know, he always lacked that durability, I think even more than a Khan. So I think it would be a good fight until Inoue lands something vicious, and then his lack of durability would have showed up in that matchup. But the reason I brought up Donaire is because I was thinking after the fight, I was pondering to myself. I was like, you know, who the hell of all the weight class Inoue has competed in, because he's been at 108, he's been at 115, 118, and now 122. Who the hell had the best chance to beat Inoue from 108 to 122? And I was thinking about it long and hard. And the conclusion I came to, guys, was that, and this is just me, this is only me. I just think that, you know, if they would have fought, you know, from 2014 to 2015, because that's when the fight was being talked about by HBO and the fine folks there and Peter Nelson. I think Naoya Inoue versus Chocolatito Gonzalez, that would have been his most competitive fight, because the Inoue that exists now, you know, he was still very good back then. He was still, you know, amazing talent back then, but he's a lot more seasoned now. Like, I think he's a much more polished fighter than he was, let's say, from the Omar Narvaez fight. Like, because that's when they were talking about fighting. If you guys really know your history, Roman Gonzalez, there was an article on Boxing Scene. Chocolatito called out Naoya Inoue on New Year's It was December 31st, 2014. I'm going to try to find the article, actually, because I want to show you guys. I want to show you guys so you guys don't think I'm just making this up, because some people think I'm so smart that I just make things up, and that's not true. I ain't that smart. You guys give me too much credit sometimes. By the way, shout out to my guy. Where is he at? Shout out to my guy, D-Style Boxing. I see you, D-Style. Salute to him. Make sure you guys go run it up. Go subscribe to his channel. If you're not subscribed to D-Style Boxing, I don't know what you're doing. He had 2 shows yesterday. He had a show with me. I was there with him and Calix, and we interviewed Fred Juice Rojas, the prospect. And then he had a show before me. He was interviewing Steve Kim, the great Steve Kim, one of the great boxing writers. So yeah, go subscribe to D-Style, and go subscribe to Calix Boxing too. But I wanted to show you this. All right, I wanted to show you this because everyone thinks that I make this up. I don't make this stuff up. This was you guys see the date. It was Christmas of 2014. All right. Roma Gonzalez. He called out Naoya Inoue. Hold on. Am I on screen share? I think I'm on screen share. So, hold on. So, Roma Gonzalez, Chocolatito, he wanted to fight Naoya Inoue right after the Narvaez fight. You guys can see it right there. Roma Gonzalez targets Narvaez Inoue winner. He said, "As my goal is to continue to defend my championship and look for the 4th crown against Naoya Inoue, who I am sure will become world champion on December 30th. If he wins, I'm going to go against him 115 pounds. I want that fight in the future." So if this is just me. The main fight he would have had the biggest chance of losing, you know, in his whole career that was ever a possibility, I think was that fight, was Roma Gonzalez. Especially because I don't think he was as great of a technical fighter as he is now. He's really grown a lot from that first Donaire fight, like exponentially. So that's just me. Inoue avoided Choco, and that's a fact. I've heard all kinds of things about that. That's why I want to interview Inoue for myself. That's why like when I was in Japan, like when I was in Japan and I made that infamous video where I was outside of his gym, like right after I just got out of his gym, and I was just like, I had some emotion, so I probably should have not made the video, or I should have waited until I was less emotional about it because it came out the wrong way. But I have so much I want to ask the guy, and my fingers are still crossed that, you know, next year at some point when I do go to Japan, and now I know how things work. Now I really know how things work in Japan. Like I know how it is. I know the culture. I know what to do, what not to do. I feel like that second trip to Japan is going to be real special. So I'm hoping, you know, fingers crossed it could happen, because I got over it that night. I forgave him that night. I could have done more. I could have been better as far as setting all that up, but you live and you learn. My man David says, "What did you make of the performance by Robeisy Ramirez? I was impressed, but the guy he was fighting was outgunned." He was. That Shimizu, that was his name. He was a Olympian, Japanese Olympian, bronze medalist, good fighter, but 37 years old, and he looked every bit of 37 years old. He looked like the southpaw Masayoshi Nakatani. He was taking an ass whooping. I think Robeisy is a very good fighter, much like a Stephen Fulton. Great speed, athleticism. He's really done a hell of a job, along with Salas, of adapting his style to the pros. But I just think when it comes to like the guys like Inoue, his lack of pop and his conditioning, because from what I saw in that fight and other fights of his, I do feel like he is a tad bit of a front runner, meaning that, like, you know, after them 4 rounds, you know, he starts to fade and there's not as much on his punches. Oh, someone said I wasn't on screen share. Okay, hold on. I wasn't on screen share, so I wanted to show you guys, because, like, hold on, let me show you now. I wanted you guys to see the article I was telling you about. Where is it? Hold on. I wanted you guys to see the article. Hold on. Stop screen. All right, present, and then we'll go screen share. Make sure y'all smash that like button. This is what I was trying to show you guys. I was trying to show you guys this right here. Roma Gonzalez targets Narvaez winner. This is in 2014. Chocolatito was actively calling out Naoya Inoue in 2014. This is when Inoue had already beaten Adrian Hernandez. He was already a light flyweight champion at 108. And Chocolatito was at 112. He was at, flyweight doing this thing. He had just beaten Akira Yagashi, who was the lineal flyweight champion at that particular time. And Inoue went from 108 all the way to 115 to fight Omar Narvaez, who, respect to Omar Narvaez, very good fighter, fantastic champion from Argentina, had made a whole truckload of defenses. But Narvaez was like 40, right? He was on 30, in his late 30s, or he was, 40. And Chocolatito, as you guys can see right here, he was talking about, he wanted to fight Inoue. He didn't want to fight Quadras. Quadras was a fight that he took because it was by default. Like he was with HBO. That was the guy that was ready, willing, and able to fight him. Him and Inoue couldn't come to an agreement, whatever, right? Because he felt like he was deserving of a certain pay grade at the time, right? Which I agree with him. Romo Gonzalez was the pound number one fighter in boxing, and he had earned his spot, right? But he wanted Inoue to be the guy he got his fourth title against, or attempted to get his fourth title against. And of all the fights, people always ask me, they say, BT, True School, the untouchable. What's the one fight in boxing you wish you could have saw? And I always think about Chocolatito versus Inoue, anywhere from 2014 to 2015. 2016, I think, would have been good as well. But I think by 2016, Chocolatito was still very good, but that's when he really started to lose a step. He lost a bit of a step around 2016. And he was starting to, not be the guy he was in 2014, 2015, 2012. He was still very good, but not quite in his prime. So I think 2014, 2015, like not too long after he called out Inoue in this article, that would have been the optimal time for them to fight. But Chocolatito didn't. He didn't have his first fight on HBO until I think it was like, I'm gonna say like March or April of 2015. Because he fought, his HBO debut was on the Gennady Golovkin Dominic Wade card. He was the co-main event, and that's the fight where he destroyed Edgar Sosa like in 1 or 2 rounds. So just some things just aren't meant to be. But Inoue is a great fighter. Chocolatito is a great fighter, and they're probably two of my favorite fighters ever. That fight in Bo and Holyfield, Riddick Bowe and Lennox Lewis. Those are the two fights. Those are the two like what ifs for me. My man Tommy, he says, shout out to BT from Yokohama, Japan. Yokohama, stand up. Shout out to him. Speaking of Yokohama, I'm wearing the Ohashi gym shirt that I bought in Yokohama. I have to go back to Yokohama, man, because when I was in Yokohama, when I was in Japan, the only time I spent in Yokohama was when I went to the Inoue gym, and just all that stuff happened, and I made that video, and I kind of felt like it came off the wrong way, and it is what it is. Diego Caballero says, yo, why did you post Adrian Martinez's amateur fight? Adrian from Homestead? Is that who you're speaking of? My boy Adrian from down here in Homestead? Why did I post this fight? Because Adrian's a good fighter. I like Adrian. He's a good local fighter. If that's who you're referring to, if you're referring to Adrian Martinez, who trains right down the street here in Homestead at Extreme Bodyworks, the tall, lanky, slick, puncher. I reposted this fight because I like Adrian Martinez. I think he's a good fighter, and he's a good kid, and I help Adrian keep his head on straight, and he just stay out of trouble down here in Homestead, because there's a lot of temptation down here in South Florida, and it's very easy to get mixed up. But if that's who you're referring to, that's my reasoning. Little Manny says, I just can't believe. Hold on, the D-Style comment. I saw somebody say something about D-Style. What did D-Style say? Where he at? Make sure y'all smash that like button. And yes, D-Style, Inoue he's improved tenfold. Maybe Inoue wouldn't have been ready by then. That's true. And that's probably what they thought. They probably thought Inoue wasn't ready by then. And, from what I know about Inoue and Chocolatito is that if my memory is correct, they had a deal in place to fight. if Romo Gonzalez would have beat Ron Sai in the first fight, but as we know, in the first fight, he was on the wrong side of what I believe and a lot of people believe was a bad decision. So that's what it is. My man Diego says, yeah, he's from Extreme. He's supposed to fight me. He's supposed to fight me. Oh, you're a fighter. Okay, well, hey, best of luck to you. Where you got where you guys fighting at? Where in South Florida you guys fighting? I probably won't go because Crawford and Spencer's that day, but I gotta start getting out to these amateur fights soon. But best of luck, man. Adrian's a good fighter. Hopefully you trained hard and do your best. Much respect. Michael Manning, my main man. BT finally caught a live champ. You call it BT. The monster has gotten better, but yeah, oh, he pulled out. So no Adrian Martinez fight. Well, I don't know. I ain't seen Adrian in a little bit, so I don't know what's going on with him. Yeah, I was still in Texas when you were there. Since I only spent the summer in Japan, I was there in the Ariake Arena watching live. Oh, so you went to the fight? Lucky you. I'm jealous. Very jealous. What it do, brother? What's good? Fragrance Journey 101. You know, speaking of fragrances, yay. Shameless plug, man. I keep them fragrances right here. What you know about this Fragrance Journey? This was it Michael Mall, London, Citizen Jack. That's that. You know, this will turn you into a bitch magnet. You know, for lack of a better term. But anyway, shout out to you. Hyro says BT is a Japanese hardcore, but his ass don't cover 105. Don't worry, Hyro. If you keep talking about how I don't cover 105, I'm gonna troll the shit out of you, Hyro. I will go live during the Crawford Spence fight, and I will talk about the whole 105 division, and I will not even acknowledge the Crawford Spence fight. So keep talking, Hyro. Keep talking, and I might just do it to troll you. Let's see what else we got here. All right, Diego says next time you see him, tell him to run the fair with me. I will do. I'll probably see him this week coming up because I'm supposed to go to his gym actually and say what's up to somebody. My man right here says I would love for Inoue to go back down and grab a belt at 112 against Bam or Sonny. I don't know. Nah, he ain't making that weight. He's too damn big. If you go back and you look at the pictures of Inoue when he was fighting at those weights, I mean, he looks like a whole different person. His shit was like this. His face is all sunken in. There's no way he's getting that down to 112. Because if he's competing at 122, his walk around race probably somewhere in the 130s or 140s, something like that. So he's not gonna cut. He's not gonna cut like 30 pounds or whatever, 30 to 20 pounds to get back down to 112 for Bam Rodriguez or something. I don't think he is, at least. If Bam wants to make a fight with him, he'll move up because Bam's big enough. Bam is definitely big enough to fight Inoue and move up, and it wouldn't even be a problem. Make sure y'all smash that like button. We hear the untouchable True School Sports Empire. It's the aftermath of Inoue Fulton. You know, we're putting the cherry on top of what's been a whole lot of fun here covering the fight. I can't believe it's done. I can't believe it's over. You know, very, 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 very soon, much to my boy Hyro's enjoyment, we're gonna have to turn our attention to Crawford Spence. But this is we're putting the bow, we're putting the cherry on top of what's been a lot of fun. Michael Manning says, "What happened to the Ergashev fight, BT?" Ergashev apparently had an injury, but him and Subriel Matias have been going back and forth on Instagram. From my understanding, from what I've heard, Ergashev apparently has some sort of injury, and he wants to get a tune-up before he fights Matias. So now Matias is fighting Sergey. He's going to fight Sergey Lipinets. I'm actually, believe it or not, if it doesn't rain, I'm praying to God that it does not rain tomorrow in South Florida, because if it doesn't rain, I'm supposed to drive from here to where Ergashev actually trains at Warriors Boxing Gym. I'm going to be in that area tomorrow. So I was planning on going down there tomorrow and trying to get an interview with Otabek Komatov and get an interview with Ergashev, because Ergashev has been training down there. So if me and Ergashev cross paths tomorrow, I'll make sure that I find out what's going on with the Matias fight. When is that fight? I'm not even sure. I'm not even sure when the hell that fight is. I have no idea when that fight even is. But I think if there is a close fight, if anybody's getting robbed, it's definitely Lara. Danny's the house fighter. He's the A-side fighter in that fight. Jeff says that he avoided for like a year and then he tried to make the fight. Keep in mind, he was like 22 and 23 in Rome. Yeah, like that's why I laugh. Like I laugh at people when they say, "Oh yeah, Inoue at 115 would have did this to Chocolatito. He would have did that." Listen, when they were talking about fighting, when it was a thing, Chocolatito was in his prime. Roman Gonzalez was in his prime. Inoue was a very good fighter. He was. You could see the talent from a young stage of his career, but he wasn't what he is now. He wasn't he wasn't quite yet the perfect blend of speed, power, and reflexes, but he was on his way. He was in progress. Would have been a very hard fight for him, I think. More than any fight he's had in his career. David Escher says, do you think your boy Komotov will have a chance against Inoue? Yes, 100%. My only question with Oda Beck is defensively. You know, like I know he has the power to get Inoue's respect. I know he has the durability to take him round, to take him the distance, and drown him in the later rounds if need be. He's got the amateur experience to box with them. It's just defensively. You know, will he be defensively sound enough against Inoue? That's my only question. If he's defensively sound enough to not allow Inoue to kind of like Fulton get to that mid-range area and just start teeing off on him and hitting him with those aggressive counter punches, then I think he probably, in my opinion, of all the guys that are in line to fight him, champions, mandatories, number one contenders, number two, he has the best chance at featherweight to me. And that's what I'm sticking with. My man said, take the scooter, baby. Pray for no rain. That's why you're the man. Yeah, man. Y'all don't understand how that's a long drive. That's not like around the corner. Like Warriors Gym is in Hollywood, Florida. I live way far south, so it's a couple hours drive because I can't get on the highway with the scooter, but make it do what it do. Where is he at? I saw my man. Where is he at? Where's he at? By the way, shout out to all 62 of you here. Make sure you guys smash that like button and subscribe if you're new to the channel. Mantas de Piedras, he says, I can't wait till Benavidez pulls a monster Inoue on David Morrell. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I'm looking forward to that one. When I was watching the live from the fourth row in the arena after the first shot, Inoue threw, Cool Boy looked scared. It doesn't show the same emotion when I watch back on YouTube. Yeah, well, that's how it is. When you go to fights, especially if you have a good seat, you can really see things that you don't see on the television screen. You can see the fighters' emotions, how they react to punches. I think it was like the first round. Inoue hit Fulton with I think it was like a power jab, and Fulton's legs didn't look stable in the first round. So I was worried. He looked tentative for the word go, and Fulton normally isn't a tentative fighter. He looked very unsure of himself. So I'm with you. Uzbek fighters have great footwork. They're bad about letting their head get. That's what it is with Oda Beck, right? Because I've seen him spar. Like I've seen him spar a bunch of rounds. I mean, I've seen pretty much all of his fights in the pros. I'm telling you, at featherweight, he's dangerous for anybody. I think he's gonna be a world champion. Like if Lee Wood fights him, that's gonna be Lee Wood's last fight in boxing. Lee Wood's he's gonna beat the brakes off Lee Wood. That's why Lee Wood and Eddie Hearn, that's one of the reasons why Eddie Hearn's not talking about. They won't even say his name, even though it's the mandatory, because it's not a big money fight, and that dude is a problem. But yeah, his head sometimes can stay on the line, and defensively, that could be a big problem against Inoue. I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that at all. Artur Beterbiev is a monster. Artur Beterbiev got a 100% knockout ratio. He's knocked out some real good fighters. So Inoue is a monster, but he ain't the only monster in boxing. I would say, you know, Beterbiev is a monster. Inoue is a monster. Terrence Crawford's a monster. Subriel Matias at times, you know, is a monster when guys aren't, you know, boxing him. But yeah, it's very few guys that I would say are like monsters for real. Where are we at? Okay, now I wanted to touch on this. This is something that I wanted to touch on because I knew it was gonna happen. Like I knew when you know Inoue beat Stephen Fulton. People who don't follow his career and don't like his ass for reasons that have nothing to do with boxing, they were gonna start talking all this Gervonta Davis talk. Now, I'm the guy who, I mean, I was there. I was in the media scrum. I was there at Barry's Boxing during Tank Ryan Garcia fight week. I was standing like 5 feet from Gervonta Davis when he was talking about Naoya Inoue and the possibility to fight him. I thought it sounded crazy, but with Inoue's dominance over Fulton and featherweight not looking the most promising as far as the champions are concerned, I wouldn't rule it out. I really wouldn't rule it out. But these people that don't like Inoue, they just want him to go up to 135 because if he loses to Tank, who's bigger than Inoue, they're going to justify their hatred for him by saying, see, he ain't that good. He ain't that good. You see what happened when he fought a real killer, you know, but it's sad. They'd rather Tank fight a guy who is what? He's at 35. So what? You got featherweight, you got one. He's like he's 3 weight classes below. He's 3 weight. They want Inoue to move up 3 weight classes to fight Tank. But they don't want Tank to go up to 40. All right. They don't want Tank to go up to 40. They're okay with him not going up to 40. You know, and if that's the case, right, and I'm gonna go to my tweet because I tweeted about it earlier. I won't go to my tweet. I'll just tell y'all what I said. I tweeted on Twitter earlier. I said if Gervonta Tank Davis wants to dare to be great, then he needs to move up to 154 and fight Tim Tszyu. Tim Tszyu needs an opponent. Tim Tszyu ain't fighting Charlo, you know, and there's not really no high-profile opponents at 54. So F it. Tank can go to 54 and fight Tim Tszyu. And I'm sure if I told them that, they'd say I sound stupid. But that's how they sound when they talk about Inoue and Tank. Now, I'll tell you this. If Inoue wins a world title at featherweight, he wins a world title at 130, then I think him and Tank would be a monster event. It would be crazy. But I still think for that fight to be like a reality, Inoue is going to have to, you know, prove himself on the championship level in higher weight classes. Until then, it's just talk. It's just all talk. That's not hard at all. Terrence Crawford by annihilation, by straight annihilation. He's gonna stop Errol Spence, and we're gonna see why it took so long to make the fight happen. But that's all I'll say on that fight. We'll have a whole live for that fight later on. Well, look, guys, I pretty much said all I wanted to say about Inoue Fulton. I'm not trying to make this an extremely long live today. I just wanted to come on here, talk my talk, you know, interact with you guys, and you know, make just put the cherry on top, put the bow on this present that has been Inoue Fulton, because I've been talking about Inoue Fulton since last summer, and the coverage and the people we met along the way, like this whole Inoue Fulton thing on this channel, it took on a whole life of its own. So I had a great time. A man Acid Break says, BT Boxing Gems. Appreciate you, man. Thank you. I'm in good company. Thank you. Yeah, but like I don't want to make this a long live. So yeah, all I want to say is this. Thank you guys for like all the support when it comes to Inoue and Fulton and all the videos. Thank you to all the people that like helped me get to Japan. Thank you to all the people I met in Japan that helped me when I was in Japan. Thank you to all the Japanese fans of my channel and boxing that sent me packages and stuff with like the newspapers and the Inoue magazines. never forget it. I'll never forget it for the rest of my life. So, yeah, yeah, we did quite a lot. We did quite a lot. I learned a whole lot about myself in the process of going to Japan and Inoue Fulton, and it was just a life-changing experience. So, yeah, with that being said, I'm gonna give you guys some program reminders, and then you know, we'll focus on the next fight. But Saturday, we will be live for Terrence Crawford versus Earl Spence. The live fight reaction that will be Saturday. So make sure you guys don't make no plans, and if you do, make sure that True School Sports is included in your plans, because you know, this is a fight that a lot of people have been waiting for years. You know, I'm not quite as excited about it because I'm still coming off the high of Inoue Fulton, but I'm gonna enjoy the fight. Hopefully, it's a good fight. Hopefully, Terrence Crawford. You know, I would like to see Terrence Crawford come out victorious because I'm a huge Terrence Crawford fan. But if not, life goes on, and I'll have to congratulate Earl Spence. But we'll be live for that Saturday. I'm not sure if I'm going to be live Friday for Sinisa Estrada's fight. It depends. I might go to the Marlins game on Friday to go there for the return of one of my childhood heroes, Miguel Cabrera. It's his last game against the Marlins in Miami, and he's a legend. So I want to go see him play. So I might go to that on Friday. But if I don't go to that Friday, I'll be live. I'll be live for Sinisa Estrada, and I don't know about tomorrow. If I got time tomorrow, I'll go live for Crawford and Spence. So that's where I'm at. Saturday for sure. Saturday I'm going live with Crawford Spence. So yeah. That being said, you guys take care. Yeah, Michael, I'm gonna buy the Hornets. I want to buy the Hornets. That's right. I should buy the Hornets because Michael Jordan didn't know what to do with the Hornets, so I should buy the Hornets. But yeah, you guys take care. God bless. Keep supporting the channel. There's a lot of content coming out. There's still a lot of content I gotta go make and whatnot. So we're on the road to 100,000, right? So looking very forward to hitting 100,000 subscribers in the near future. And then when that time comes, you know, we're gonna plan like a True School Sports like 100,000 subscriber get together somewhere here in Miami or South Florida, and you guys come out to that. But you guys take care. God bless. You know, like I say in every single one of these videos, you can love me or you can hate me, but I'm just a kid from Dang It. So until next time, take care, guys.